All right, GCSE crew, listen up. Let's just forget everything you think you know about boring, dusty old plays. Because today, we're diving headfirst into a crash course on Shakespeare's most famous, and let's be honest, most disastrous teenagers, Romeo and Juliet. And that really brings us to the biggest question of all.
So what are we really looking at here? Is this the greatest love story ever told, a huge tragedy of cosmic proportions? Or is it just a story about two super impulsive kids who make a series of really, really bad decisions? Let's get into it.
First up, let's talk about the setting. Welcome to Verona. But don't picture some charming Italian city. No. Think of it more like a high school, where two rival gangs, the Montagues and the Capulets, have been fighting for so long, they probably don't even remember why they started in the first place.
And this feud, it's not just some petty name-calling in the hallways. It is violent, it happens out in the open, and it is deadly. This constant conflict is the world our characters are born into. Every single choice they make is happening under the shadow of this, quote, ancient grudge. This isn't just background noise, okay? It's the engine driving this whole tragedy.
Okay, let's meet our leading man, Romeo. Now, when we first see him, he's basically Verona's resident sad boy. He's this emo poet wandering around sighing dramatically over a girl named Rosaline, who, by the way, is just not interested. He is all about the big feelings.
Right, if you have to remember one thing about Romeo for your exam, make it this. He is passionate and impulsive. The guy doesn't have an emotional dimmer switch. Everything is cranked up to 100% all the time. He feels something and he acts on it. Instantly. No second thoughts, ever.
And this quote just proves the point perfectly. I mean, he sneaks into the Capulet party, supposedly completely heartbroken over Rosaline. Then he sees Juliet, and bam! Rosaline is ancient history. In one single line, he just throws his old love out the window and declares this new one is the only true thing he's ever felt. That right there, that's pure, unfiltered Romeo impulsiveness.
So let's do a quick-fire breakdown of his report card. He starts off sensitive and brooding, right? He gets totally obsessive when he falls in love. He does try to be a peacemaker, at first, after marrying Juliet, telling Tybalt he has a reason to love him. But when that fails, he completely flips, becoming reckless and emotional. And this last one is so important. He always believes he's just a victim of fate.
This line is one of the most crucial in the entire play for getting inside Romeo's head. He has just killed Tybalt in a blind rage to avenge his best friend Mercutio. But does he say, "Oh no, what have I done?" No, he blames fate. He sees himself as a puppet, a fool being messed with by destiny. What this really shows is that he doesn't take responsibility for his own actions.
Okay, next up is Juliet. And if you think she's just some girl waiting around on a balcony, you need to think again. She has one of the fastest and most radical character transformations in all of literature. Seriously, she goes from 0 to 100 real quick.
Just look at this journey. When we meet her, she's a totally obedient daughter. Her mom suggests she married this guy named Paris, and she's basically like, okay, sure, I'll give him a look. But the second she meets Romeo, she becomes a defiant lover, ready to turn her back on her entire family, and by the end, she's a full-blown tragic heroine, taking control of her own destiny in the most dramatic way you can imagine.
So while Romeo is ruled by his passions that change in a heartbeat, Juliet becomes incredibly determined. Once she decides she loves Romeo, absolutely nothing can sway her. In fact, she's the one who brings up the idea of marriage. She's the one who goes to the friar for help. She becomes so strong-willed and defies everyone, from her nurse to her absolutely terrifying father.
This line is just amazing. It's the exact moment she finds out Romeo is a Montague. And just listen to how she phrases it. It's a perfect paradox. She immediately understands the entire horrible complexity of her situation. It shows you how intelligent she is, and you can feel that inner conflict. She's not just sad, she's thinking it through.
So Juliet's report card is seriously impressive. She starts out innocent and dutiful, but she very quickly becomes decisive. You can just watch how she grows more and more independent, making her own plans. And you've got to remember, in an Elizabethan society where daughters were basically their father's property, her defying everyone like this would have been genuinely shocking to the audience. In the end, she is the one who truly chooses her own fate. So this brings us to the big idea, the question you'll probably have to tackle in an exam essay. Was this whole tragedy inevitable? Were they star-crossed, doomed from the very start by destiny? Or did they bring it all on themselves with their own reckless choices?
Let's break it down into two teams. In this corner, we have Team Fate.
If you're arguing for them, you point right to the prologue. Shakespeare literally tells us at the start that they're doomed. Romeo is constantly feeling like destiny is against him. And what about Mercutio's dying curse, a plague o' both your houses? Well, it actually comes true when a real plague stops the friar's message from getting to Romeo. But then in the other corner, you have team bad choices. And the evidence is pretty strong here too. They get married in secret less than 24 hours after meeting. Romeo loses his temper and kills Juliet's cousin. They constantly make secret plans and defy their parents, which just makes everything worse.
Ultimately, there isn't a single right answer. Shakespeare leaves it open on purpose. Are they tragic victims, pushed towards their doom by a cruel destiny they just couldn't control? Or are they impulsive teenagers whose whirlwind romance and terrible choices literally created their own tragedy? That's the question you get to answer. Good luck!